TWA was a promotion that basically was the early stages of ECW.
That's really where it kind of started. The hardcore chair swinging type hardcore wrestling really started. Joel Goodhart had a vision to put some shows on like that.
I mean, I think the thing that I remember most about that, which was the Joel Goodhart shows, is they were really wild shows, and they appealed to a lot of people, and they did much better than most of the indie shows in that time.
We used to draw anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000. This is an independent show, and this was with no TV. This was all for wrestling radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our matches, I do want to introduce some people who are sitting ringside. First of all, from Variety Club, Mr. Todd Gordon.
I got involved in the business because Joel Goodhart owned a company called TWA. He had a radio show called Wrestling Radio. It was on every week on WIP. I caught it one day, started listening to it. Had been a wrestling fan since I was 9. I mean, you have to understand, I was addicted to this.
Well, I met Todd at a TWA show a couple of times. Todd had invested some money in TWA.
And I got him Temple University as a locale to do a big show, because all he'd been doing was little bar shows.
Joel put on some great shows. I guess that the most legendary one was one where you had Cactus Jack and Eddie Gilbert doing 3 different gimmick matches.
It was amazing to watch, you know, and most of us crowded around the curtains in the back.
And those guys just beat the hell out of each other all night long.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it was, I remember in the back, after the match, they were pulling glass out of Cactus's head. There was paramedics all over the place. Eddie was on the other side of the building actually throwing up.
It was brutal, and there was a lot of intentional and unintentional bloodletting going on in there.
Joel ran some pretty good shows. I think Joel's problem was he started overbooking them.
He just got too big too soon, or wanted to be bigger than he really was.
Paydays for them big shows were steep. They paid us very well back in the day.
I think Joel basically lost his shirt between that and paying for the time for the radio show each week.
Todd called me on a Thursday, and he told me that Joel's going to announce that he's going to go out of business on his radio show. Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, I turned the radio on, and sure enough, the first announcement he made was that he was going to, in fact, fold the promotion. And within a couple seconds, Todd had called me. So he said, "What did I tell you?"
Well, actually, Todd Gordon had invested $20,000 into Joel's company within 6 months before Joel went under.
Myself, Steve Truitt, who was our sound guy, Todd Gordon, and Larry Winters, who was one of the workers. We had stayed in touch by phone after Tri-State had ended, and we decided to meet in Todd's office.
We all sat down and we just started a little game plan on how we were going to start and what we were going to do. And that's how it all started.
ECW started in 1992. At that point, it was just a small independent like any other group. It was basically fly-by-night. Come in, do their show, bring in a couple of names on top, have your local guys who would come in from Tri-State, which was the group that preceded it.
Back in the early 90s, we started as Eastern Championship Wrestling, because my thought process was I was only going to do it here in Jersey and maybe Delaware. Well, that's the East. I wasn't going anywhere further than that.
When we sat in his office, he, of course, was going to have 51% of the company, and he divvied up the rest of the company among the other 3 guys. I didn't really want to, I wanted to be paid, you know, so I took the least percentage of the company, but my agreement was that I would be paid every week, because I really didn't think it was going to last long. At that time, you know, I just couldn't see it going to what it turned out to be.
Well, the very earliest ECW was in a sports bar at 8th and Market, Mike Schmidt's sports bar at that time. And it's hard to believe, looking back at those cards, which I went to with regularity, that anything good ever came of that, because the wrestling was bad.
I was in the first ever match in Eastern Championship Wrestling. I remember coming out, I don't remember much else. I remember I looked like crap and I wasn't very good. I had no body. I didn't work out. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to be a wrestler.
What had happened was I was the first booker, and then I had problems with Todd. I'd be home thinking of different angles and programs and, you know, to run, and then he'd call me and say, "Hey, him and Steve Truitt just come up with some ideas," you know. I just knew it wasn't going to, it wasn't going to go anywhere. Just told him, you call the shots, I'll just work for you.
As Todd got more involved with the company, Todd became our booker. In fact, Todd has some great angles. He was really good at it.
I remember specifically saying to Todd, I said, Todd, you're going to need a full-time booker in here. And next thing you know, we had Eddie Gilbert in.